Ooh,
Oh,
I've got to get used to that. It's got a nice little ring to it. So, how are you doing, Mr. Ford, on this fine evening?
I'm doing pretty good. Just got off work, had some Girl Scout cookies, feeling great.
Oh yeah, those will get you. What's your favorite?
I'm a big fan of the Samoas. I've already gone through 2 boxes.
All right. Are you ordering more? That's the question.
Uh, well, I had already ordered the third box, so I'm already a sleeve through that.
Okay. Hey, nothing wrong with that. It's that time of year.
Yeah. No, I think we still have like 5 boxes of like other cookies here, and I'm just working through them. Just
One at a time.
one one day closer to the arm wrestling competition.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Bulking season.
That's right. Yes, we definitely got to touch on that. And before
Yeah.
I forget, I totally forgot to open with "Hello, fam." It's been so long since I made a video that I forgot. Hello, fam. And even if I did without real, I don't think I did. So I'm saying it again. So
I didn't hear
yeah,
it.
that's right. So I didn't say it then. That's all that matters.
Mhm.
But yes, the arm wrestling. So if you've been training, then we'll get into the gist of it.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, we've been training.
Okay.
I had a down week last week with an ear infection, kept me down, but we're we'll be back at it this week. Uh so yeah, just keeping the sweater on to cover up.
Oh yeah, don't want to tip off your opponent. That's for sure,
Yeah.
Mr. Osh. Yeah, we don't want don't give him any advantage because
Yeah.
he'll
And
give him.
and I was gonna say, and potential bracket this year since we got 2 dads, not including yourself.
That's right. That's correct. We do have two fathers. Man, I can't believe it. So I probably
Hmm.
should have put grandpops on the name there, but we'll
Hmm.
we'll adjust it. But yeah, wow, that's great. Yeah, we've welcomed two of the next generation. It's truly taking a moment to realize that it doesn't feel real yet, but looking at all the pictures and it's so cool, so cool.
Oh yeah, so
But
happy for them.
me
Oh.
too. But they do have that dad strength though, like you said. So you might have some extra competition.
Hmm. I'm nervous.
It'll be it'll be all right.
Yeah.
It'll be all right. But speaking of nervous, I need to make an official announcement to the group, to the boys, my sons. Um, I'm hanging up my cleats as a team owner. It's it's bittersweet though, and I've been talking with a few people here and there to coordinate this and figure out, okay, what is the plan next preliminarily. And now that it's established, we decided to is have this meeting to pass off the torch. And the plan is that Mr. Ford here will be taking over my roster with none other than Mr. Hertz as his keeper quarterback. And man, I could, hopefully Mr. Chi will still make jerseys for us. I'll give him a call later. We'll figure it out. Um, but yeah, no, it's bittersweet because I I've loved every minute of managing the roster. I'm getting choked up a little bit just thinking about it because it's sad, but it's also happy, and it brings a lot of joy because I know it's going to be the best thing for me, and I think for the league as well and everybody else in the long run. They'll see what I'm seeing, what Joe's seeing, and everybody else that I've talked to about it. It's a win-win for everybody in the long term, and I'd I would just hope that everybody respects it and give it an open mind because my plan is to not run the roster but instead run the content, and not that I haven't before, but I want to enhance it. I really want to take it to the next level, and I can't do that with running a roster in the way that this league needs it as far as the dedication. And yeah, we travel once a year for the draft, but it's also all the time that we spend researching and search on the waiver wire, talking about trades, and just kind of forecasting, all right, the 1, 3, 5 year plan for your team. It really does take a lot of time and dedication. And if you're worried about, okay, I want to perform that way, I'm not tanking and being the most competitive you can be, it's really hard. A lot of time is spent, and it's hard to do both for me between that. Also, have a life outside of fantasy football, just realistically how it all works out. And I think I'll be able to produce more content, better content, do more one-on-one interviews like this, create maybe some write-ups, and maybe I'll do my own rankings this year. Josh's, I don't know, because we need some different stuff, but I don't know. I see the potential in it, and I know I could just tell it makes me more fulfilled and more happy to do it. It's a lot to get off my chest. The other thing that's rolling through my mind before I get Joe's thoughts on this is that I know I was in the league once. It was like a blur, and I was out of it. And then I wrote, a heartfelt letter to Kamish to let me back in. He thankfully did, and I'll, always thank him for that and give me that chance. And it's been almost 10 years since then. It feels like it, at least. It's been a long time, and it's not easy to do this, but the league needs people such as Joe and Rob. I give shout outs to them who travel so far every year. And Joe wasn't even in the league. He was just, one of like a bystander, but was a critical part of this draft. And the league deserves to have people like that are willing to do that at a moment's notice and sacrifice time away from their family and friends to do it. And not that I'm not to see everybody. I think it's more suited for them to do that. They love it. And I love seeing my friends too. But when I started this league, in this league, I know people were in it way before I was, where I came along. But when I think about how it started, a lot of the drafts were local. Like we would drive, an hour or two within at most to get to places. There was no destination, and we didn't have PTO jobs to worry about. It was more we had jobs, but it wasn't as demanding. We were still in school. It was different, or just out where it was entry level, and I was able to balance it more, and also be able to do all the other stuff and just have more free time and still balance out with families. And now we're getting more established relationships. Like Joe mentioned, two people are had offspring. Like, I mean, life's getting real, and you have to take care of your mental health and acknowledge it, and your emotional health too, and your physical well-being. And that you'd have to kind of assess everything and be like, okay, at least I think, take what's the most well-balanced approach, what's going to make you the best version of yourself, and what's the best way I can do that while still being around my sons, still being involved in the league, but yet I'm not running the roster. This is like the next best thing, and if I would argue even better, because you're going to get more of this. You're going to get more of this content. Like, who else could throw on I don't have the Ravens hat on now, but who else could throw that camo hat on like a Tuesday night, say if we're doing it next Tuesday or whatever, and can run the shit out of these videos? Who else can do that? Nobody else but me.
Nope.
I'm the guy for running this content. Go ahead, Joe.
Oh yeah. No, I mean, it's, I said it, when you texted me and told me about the opportunity. I didn't even think it was real at first. It's a privilege and an honor. And it's always, been a thought in the back of my mind of, one day I'll get a team in this league. And that was always like a thought there. But the backside of that thought is, well, in order to get a team in the league, somebody would have to leave. And I don't, and I couldn't be happier that it's going this way, because where you talked about like me and Rob's commitment to like just travel for the draft and stuff, like the reason I make that commitment is to see and be with the boys and hang out and have a good time. I was like, it's more of like a boys trip where instead of fishing, we just get a house for the weekend and actually have like a good time. Like, we don't have like a dedicated routine other than the draft itself. And that's more than enough fun with the entertainment that Ron tries to provide in the
Which he does. He's the master at it, man. Comes up with these games and stuff, and it's just like, you really take a second and think about all the stuff he comes up with. It's like, damn, and it does make the in draft special. And that's where I'm not like gonna not ever come. I don't want to be tied where I have to do this all the time. And like, I still make trips down to see my sons throughout the year. It's not like I never see them. It's maybe not as often as I could do before, but regardless of which, even if it's not that weekend, I'm not gonna not visit and not be a part of this. This is not something where like other league members have been in the past and then bounced and we never hear from them again. That's not what's happening here.
Yeah. And that was always like the concern in my mind of like, if I were ever to take on a team, it means like somebody is too committed elsewhere and they can't be a part of the league, but you're just shifting your commitments to the content part of the week, which is like, oh my God, this is like just
Yes,
like a match made in heaven is what it is.
absolutely, absolutely. And I mean, I'm telling like and but before I get into the Zoom purchase that I made, because those lovely people, Mr. Zoom, they know what they're doing. I'm very impressed. I'll go into that a little bit. I have to for 30 seconds or so after this, but
A
it
plug.
that yes, the like my whole this how this unfolded. This isn't like I just woke up one day recently and was like, okay, I'm doing this. Like I've been feeling like this for a couple years at least that I can really like remember.
Mhm.
Um, and it's just been a little bit over time here and there, and I could just feel it naturally. And at first, I wouldn't say I didn't want to be honest with myself. I just didn't really know how to kind of put the thoughts into words. And I'm sure everybody can relate at some point in their life with whatever, whether it's personal or professional, or you can kind of feel like something's changing and you just don't know 100% why. And you're like, all right, I'm not sure what to say or how to think or even how to really just how to rationalize it. But that's
Mhm.
kind of where this has happened, and I just like you can tell Mr. Ford is probably the most deserving person. I saw him before we started recording. Like definitely, he's probably the most deserving person that I could think of that is prepared for this, but also deserving of it. I mean, Jalen Hurts is on my roster. He comes every year from Colorado. He's just it's committed. It just makes perfect sense, and it wasn't like I just woke up. I just want to make sure I explain that it wasn't just something I decided. Oh, I'm done. That's not. It's not it at all. It's been a work in progress for a while, and I've been thinking about it. And I was just thinking, I wanted to be 100% sure that this was the right move for me and right move for the league, and that I would be the happiest and the best version of myself, feel the most fulfilled, and then and likewise, then I think everything else will fall into place because then the boys get a better version of me, and the league will get a better version of the league because it is still the best league out in America. I don't care international. I don't whatever other sports they play or fantasies that they do in other countries. This is the best. This is it right here, and I truly feel that this is the best thing for everybody long term. It's a win-win, and you can't ask for much more than that. I don't think in this world.
No, no, that's yeah, I couldn't agree with you more, um and just saying it's a win-win, and I can't. Each time you start praising me, it starts making me tear up a little. So I'm gonna need you to stop doing that.
Okay, I'll do what I can, but we can. You did you want to go over
So,
the roster first? Before I know you had some questions for me as well. Oh, Mr. Zoom,
oh,
I forgot Mr. Zoom.
oh, yeah.
So I bought the cloud package. So I will. I think I have saddle up with Mr. Mick because he had it, but unless he still wants to keep it in case he wants to do anything, of his in his own right. But I bought it that way, at a moment's notice. If I want to, call Lane on the tractor or the backhoe, whatever machinery he's on, or at the shop fixing something, call him up, do an interview. If Rob's on the beach down in Florida, have one with him. Mr. Ailey's, having a whiskey in Philly, I can, bring him up. If Mr. Commission's in the backyard rounding up, child and dog. If Sam's outside, making a fire, whatever. Josh's on the golf course. You get the idea. Mr. Chris and Oz too. They all like to play their golf. So, or in the hospital, one of the two, saving lives. Shout out there. I'm forgetting someone. I feel awful right now. I'm forgetting somebody. You get what I'm saying though.
Oh yeah.
So, it's it's just I needed that flexibility to be able to do this, but it's so cool where if you record it, it goes right to the cloud, regardless if it's from your iPad, your phone, or your computer. It's like a whole new world. And see, this is the things I mean, it sounds so simple to some people, but I wasn't really able to dive deep into it and see all the different features you have because I'm so worried about, all right, just get this done. That way I can manage my roster. And then, oh, I got to wake up for work tomorrow. And oh, yeah, I forgot I was supposed to have a date with Melissa or somebody else, not somebody else, but, or going out to lunch with this family member. What it was just then my anxiety just starts going. And I'm like, this is not the best version of myself. This is not
Yeah.
what it's supposed to be.
No, I'm with you there, and um, you know, we've talked about some mental health stuff before, and
Yep.
Finding that passion for fantasy football again is something I found back this past year, and I felt like the most version of myself at last year's draft than I had the entire year prior. So it's where you talk about feeling the best version of yourself. You've said it from the time you texted me about the opportunity, that this is where your heart is, and I can hear it in every ounce of your voice and soul and being. So I'm just as excited for you as you are for me. I know I'm going to do I've been lacking in the past in just even responding in group chat, but even watching the content. But I know now that just from hearing you talk about it makes me like more engaged. Because like one of the things like I've noticed for myself in the past 2 years is like I used to listen to like a bunch of different like podcasts and stuff like that, and I've fallen off the horse and radar of, as far as just listening to any podcast nowadays. So I'm like, this will be my daily podcast
Yes.
work if I need it. Like,
Yep.
I'm gonna need it, you know. So it's not Pop's going away, and but I also but yeah, let's jump into the roster
Yes.
so I know what I should be looking for as far as keepers. Um and also curious as to if you even remember, or if I mean, I can probably just wait for the group chat to talk about it, but picking the draft. One thing I have never done before fantasy wise is trading any picks. Trades in the off season is not something
Yeah.
I figured
You haven't
out.
done it yet.
That's been figured out in other leagues that I'm in. So yeah, I'm still a little still a little fresh in some regards to these things. So yeah, I don't want to end up like Josh been getting fleeced on every trade. No.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Oh, yeah. Yeah. It does. It's part of. Yeah, it's just part of the way it goes. I'll never forget the time we were at Deep Creek Lake and Josh and I had that like boom Calvin Ridley for Saquon Barkley trade. I think that's what the two were involved.
Yeah.
Like when you have that first, I know it's wasn't draft picks, but once you have that first, like, oh my gosh, this trade was, you feel blockbuster, or just, I don't know, you have that moment, and that's when I think it'll start changing for you from what I've been through.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
sure other people can talk about it too, but then it'll open like the floodgates, and then you'll go for a lull for a while not doing anything, but it'll always normalize over time. But you'll get there.
Yeah. Yep. So yeah, let's dive into the roster.
Yes, getting it fired up.
Obviously, obviously we've got Mr. Hurts.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Oh, and I realized that if Mick's at the dog park with Mr. Arnold, I can call him up too.
Oh,
that would be fun.
Ooh. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm still salivating thinking about all these different, content things I can come up with. I'll get off topic. Sorry, I'm getting off topic.
You're good.
I'm enjoying it. So, yeah, as far as I got to work on that, as far as like screen sharing, I don't know if I can do that in the mobile. I'm sure I can, or if not, I'll have to do it sometime. Yeah, share content, but I'm not logged into the app on my iPad. So I'll, another day. I'll expand the horizons a little bit on another day.
You don't have to justify the content sharing to me. I tried to open the thing up like on my iPad, and for some reason, like I can't get any text for the last 4 months. So I was like, all right, I'm just gonna leave my phone up against the
yes.
and
yes. So. It'll be all right. So I guess we can just talk about the players then.
Yeah.
Until I expand and get a little more comfortable with all the features that Mr. Zoom has to offer.
Oh yeah.
Obviously, Mr. Hurts we talked about. He's a lock.
I mean, easy yes. Lock.
Yes.
What top 5 fantasy quarterback in the last 2-3 years alone? I mean, easy money. I
Yeah.
mean, he was averaging a rushing touchdown per game.
Yep.
So I think that ended up becoming like minus 200 towards the end of the season of Jalen Hurts to score a touchdown.
Holy crap.
Like
Wow.
I think there were a couple games where I just started getting into minus odds because the Eagles are just going to run that tush push as
Yep.
long as uh Uncle Roger allows it.
That's right, Uncle Roger. I like the way you put that. Yeah, as long as he allows it, they're going to keep doing it.
But yeah, so
He's a lock. You gotta keep him.
yep.
Then we have the running backs. We have Mr. Aaron Jones and Mr. Chubb, Mr. Nick Chubb,
Ooh,
as
I
potential.
like
I don't
it.
know about Chubb with injury. What your tolerance is there, but he's on the
Yeah.
roster. It's not like I'm handing you nothing necessarily.
No, I mean got injured early in the season too, so should be recovering nicely from that. I mean, it was it was gruesome looking, but I
Yeah.
mean, all the reports coming out of it were that it was just your standard ACL and MCL. So, I mean, I haven't seen anything negative coming about his return. And let's be honest, if Aaron Rodgers is already out of the walking boot, I'm sure
Yep.
Nick Chubb is already making cuts.
Yes, that's a good point.
So
you might have to. He might be your fifth. Like if he's your fifth keeper, then you're doing pretty well.
yeah, exactly. And I mean, it doesn't seem like there's any. I mean, the Browns were just running rotations through last year. So yeah, I mean, the plan is to definitely keep him. It seems like from the Browns' perspective. So
Yes.
no concerns. And then Aaron Jones. I mean, shout out Sam's team with the Packers. They just started to come alive towards the end of the season. I mean, and it seemed like they were able to get some of the workload off of Aaron Jones to where like he can start to open back up again.
Yeah.
So,
It's
I
true.
mean, I'm very interested to see how the Packers offense just starts off next season. Because I mean, Lane mentioned it in his fury during the Cowboys Packers game, but they were like the hottest offense at the end of the season.
Yeah, they were.
So it'll be seems like if the Packers just stick with the boys that they have, I mean,
They'll be back.
yep. And I mean, he's just been consistent, just a workhorse.
Yeah.
So, both of those guys, they get their touches.
Yes,
So,
they'll get their work. As long as they stay healthy, they'll get their work, and it's worth having them to give them that chance than to not keep them and not have any. Oh, I forgot. I found another wide receiver you may want to keep, so I'm moving him up there.
Oh,
The wide receiver, Mr. Collins. He's snuck there. Yes, he as far as wide receivers go, this is kind of where obviously you can only keep 5, but definitely is between wide receiver and tight end. That's going to be where you those are going to be probably your biggest decisions. It seems like.
Yeah.
For wide receiver, we've got 3 of them. We have Mr. Godwin, probably not being kept, but still worthy of discussion. Mr. Collins, as we just mentioned, and then Mr. Cooper.
Yeah. I mean,
yeah.
It's gonna come down to a lot to me of, what's going to be available on the board.
Yep.
Because I mean, the wide receiver market, like just Godwin alone is like the prime example of this. And Godwin and Cooper, in my opinion, are just prime examples of this, like guys who are just amazingly athletically good receivers.
Yep.
Like Julio Jones had this problem for a while where he's like that they can be easily top 5 receivers in the league. But stats wise and fantasy wise, they're like they're not getting in the end zone.
Yep.
They're not putting up the big numbers you need, and um, you also never know when the next Nakua is going to be there. So, I mean, every year it seems like there's just a wide receiver that breaks out of the gate and just turns the league on its head. I think we all know who it's going to be coming from the rookie class. My boy Marvin Harrison. So,
I can see it.
But yeah, no, I feel like I never every year when it comes to fantasy, I just never know who I want except for Ohio State wide receivers. So
You heard it here first, folks. Ohio
you
State
can
wide receiver.
you can guarantee I'm drafting Ohio State.
But I mean, Mr. Harrison, though, you can't say no,
Mhm.
regardless of wherever school he would have come from. I mean, he's putting up numbers, a hell of a player. It's in his blood. Take him.
Yeah. I mean, I could see him being first pick of the NFL draft. I mean,
all right, me too. It's possible.
I think if the Bears lock in with Fields, he's number 1.
The Toad.
Huh?
The Toad.
Yeah.
Sorry, I just.
It hurts, pops.
Yes. Yes.
But
I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
So,
but yeah, as far as wide receivers go, I mean, they're all pretty and can put up numbers, but it's just when and where. So it's one of those ones where I'm gonna have to put my research in too, because I mean, schedule is definitely gonna come into play on those more than anything.
yes.
As far as like what defenses they're going up against and things like that. You know, who like I could easily see honestly any of those guys. Like I think the trade the off-season trades this year are going to get a little wild, especially with the new cap growth.
Yes.
I think we're going to see a very interesting offseason. So who knows where each one of those guys ends up?
But inflation's under 3% though. That's what they're telling me. But yet the salary cap's going more than that. So something's not adding up. I rest my case. Sorry, I had to throw a little economics in there. I can't help myself.
Hey, the more you learn.
Joe, I wonder if the other Mr. Joe will be tuning into this at some point.
Oh,
maybe. I don't know.
Never know.
We'll see. No, we'll see. What as far as
I don't think we've mentioned tight ends yet.
Yeah, no. Mr. Schultz and Mr. Likely.
I mean, you and I talked about this before the pod, but
yes, we have.
I mean, got a lot of Ravens fans here, so I mean, you said it with dismay in your heart, but you know, if Mark Andrews has to go, they know they got the guy in Likely. Yep. So, yeah, that's definitely going to be a holdout type deal for me too, where I'm just going to have to sit and wait to see. Because I mean, if Mark Andrews does have to leave the Ravens, it'll be a sad day. I mean, even for me as an Eagles fan, I mean, love Mark Andrews and what he's done for the Ravens. I mean, guy saved a life a couple months ago. So I mean, just you didn't hear about that?
No, at least I don't remember. Oh
It
yeah,
was something about like, yeah, somebody
yeah.
needed like
I,
to
I
check their blood sugar or something. They were having like a diabetic seizure, and
I forgot about that. Yes.
he was able to
What a dumb.
recognize and yeah.
All right, they can't cut him now. But I mean, I don't know. I mean, but in all honesty, like you said, we were talking about before we started, like it really depends on who they can or can't sign. And I'm sure somebody like Andrews, there's probably a lot more. Like I wish we could really talk to GMs around the league, whether they're current or previous. Like I'm sure these conversations happen a lot. Like there's probably some very eyebrow raising conversations that occur with salary cap casualties, even potential ones.
Yeah. I mean, like Schultz going to the Texans was a move that I didn't think the Cowboys would make. Like, I mean, Schultz was the the follow up to Witten. Seemed like a guy who was gonna just be that guy for the Cowboys. And
Yeah.
I mean, even and Jerry likes to keep his boys for a long time. Like
Yes.
it's not like him to just throw guys around. So when he got traded out, it was a bit of a shocker there. Um, I know Lane was upset about it.
Mm.
So I mean, for
Mm-mm-mm.
as far as Mark Andrews goes, there's a market for him, and I'm sure the Ravens GM is getting a call
Oh
every day of seeing like, hey, what what's it going to take?
yeah. What's going on here? Yeah.
So
Deal.
yeah, but well, again, one of those things we'll just have to see.
Yes, and he's not one of those guys. Like likely, certainly, not one of those. Like some people we're talking about this too, where you look back at like whatever struggle your team was in that at the end of that season, and some of the misfits that you pick up along the way, that they were
Yeah.
just short-term band-aids, and it's just like, what the hell are you thinking? But then you're like, okay, I had to because there was no other choice for that week. It was near the
Hmm.
end. And like, so some of those players obviously you could drop right away, but like somebody like a Likely, even though you have more than five at the moment, he's one of maybe your, between 5 to 10 that could be keepers depending upon whatever else happens. He's definitely in that category.
Yeah. And I feel like as far as like fantasy goes every single year, like there's only, you know, 3 to 8 guys that are true or, outside of the top three, like the big three,
Yeah.
um, there's like 3 to 8 that you would still consider keepers in this league.
Mm-hmm.
If, like I said, if Andrews goes to another team, likely he's in that 3 to 8.
Yes.
Easy. Because
Agreed.
he's one of the big three of like, you have to.
Yes.
Him, Kelsey, and I feel like Goddard and Kittle have just been playing like trade off on that third spot. But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean there's some other guys. I mean, it's a very competitive league, so I doubt there's gonna be a whole lot of tight ends out there either. So where we were
Sure.
talking about there's plentiful wide receivers who can be the guys, not a whole lot of tight ends that can be the guys. So
That's right.
unless somebody's getting a little bold and wants to give up one of those.
Bold in this league, never.
So yeah. But yeah, no, and we didn't touch a lot with Schultz, but I we talked about this a little bit before the pod, but I'm loving everything that the Texans are doing right now. I mean, CJ Stroud, the boy from
Yep.
Ohio State, just absolutely breaking the Ohio State can't produce a quarterback stigma. Um, but I mean, he definitely found a security blanket in Schultz last year. I mean, their wide receiver situation got a little spotty at times with injuries, but um, Stroud found a way, and um, that Texans team is resilient, and they're just going to keep rolling.
Yes.
I mean, it you could definitely see, the culture that D'Amico Ryan's built right away with that team, and whoever is coming in the building is going to get roped up in that right away. So I can only expect better things out of everybody from the Texans next season. So
Agreed. They can't go wrong. If you had to keep Schultz, you're doing all right. Because he may not be in that 3 to 8, but he could be if things go right. But at worst, he still provides some stability at the position if
exactly.
the /likely thing doesn't pan out.
Yep. No, I couldn't agree more with that.
That way, you're not going into the first draft with not a tight end at all.
Yeah, and just risking it completely.
Yes, not that it wouldn't work out regardless, but just it frees you up a little bit. I'll be like, all right, there's other areas in the drafting that you can go to based on, as you said, to go back to your point of who's available, who's on the board.
Mm-hmm. There's a rookie tight end coming out of Ohio State. That's going to be, I expect to do very well in the combine and end up potentially on the roster, depending on who he gets drafted by.
Never know.
Yeah. So just hinting at me drafting more Buckeyes.
Yes. Just yep. So there might be more Buckeyes making their way onto Mr. Ford's roster. Time will tell.
Yeah. So I mean, it's empty right now. So as far as Buckeyes go, so there's got to be at least one.
That's right. Yeah, got to be. So it's like Lane every year with the Cowboys. At least you got to have a few. It's going to
traded for the entire team towards the end of the draft last year.
Yes. It's bound to happen. Eventually it will, and everybody has their thing. And Slam does that with the Packers too. It's natural. It's just the way it is.
You just want to support your boys.
Yes, absolutely.
It's why me and Mr. Hertz are a perfect fit.
Yeah, true. One of a kind. One of a kind. Oh, can't wait to give this.
So now that I will be inheriting the roster, I do have some questions for you. As in question 1.
Okay.
At what point am I drafting Justin Tucker?
As of right now, I'm thinking round 8.
Round 8? Okay.
Yes. That's what I feel right.
Okay. And then 49ers defense right after, or
not this year.
No.
While they have all the playmakers, I was a little, disappointed with how they panned out. But valid questions. I would at least wait to round 10.
Okay, fair enough.
Yes.
I mean, they're getting a new coordinator, I believe, too.
Yeah. Well, I don't know.
Speaking of new coordinators, the Eagles getting Kellen Moore as an offensive coordinator makes me want to throw up when I think about it.
Yeah, it's not the most appetizing.
But I mean, Mr. Hertz likes him. Things can go well.
Yes.
So I think if we see, my confidence will be boosted if Jason Kelce does come back, because that means Jason Kelce's bought into whatever Kellen Moore is selling, and maybe that's just Coke, but
maybe I don't know, but that's
whatever it takes to get the offense going.
Yes, it's amazing. Like even non-storylines in the NFL are still storylines, and it can be winter, like in the dead of winter after everything's done. Like the fact we're still here, it's bringing us all together. We're still talking about it, and yet it's still that big. Like you can't take your mind off the NFL. Like it's still like they're just amazing at what they do, and they market pretty well. NBA is great as well, but the NFL, it's just something a little different about it, and like it just makes you like fantasy. The product itself is amazing because it takes non-news stories and makes them news stories, even though the game might have bad. Just I know we all know that whole mantra, but it's really kind of cool how we're sitting here talking about stuff that yeah, the coach, it does matter, but it's like, all right, it's not directly like involving like points that they're scoring, but I mean, it could be. Don't get me wrong, it could have an influence, but like it's not the player themselves. But yeah, it does all these little factors. I guess that's my point is that it builds up and it does contribute. Indirect things still contribute just as much as direct factors. It's pretty amazing how it all unfolds and all the research you have to do to connect all those dots.
It was actually funny you mentioned like all the little things and like that we're talking about where it's like, especially like when it comes to like coaching decisions and how they impact like the players that you're picking and things like that, where we had friends, we were watching some of the playoffs and we watched the Super Bowl at their place, and they've only gotten into American football over the past couple years that I've gotten to know them, but the guy's a huge soccer fan, and so one of the nights they just asked like how many coaches there are per roster, and I was like, or per team, and I was just like, oh well, I just started naming off like different like position coaches, like head coach. They're like, why are there so many? And I was like, all of them have a very important role to play.
Yes. It's true.
And I just started like naming off like the different coaches for they're like, how do you even like not only do you have like player information, but you have like coaching information and like how it impacts. And I'm like, yeah, well, the 49ers have one of the greatest defensive rosters, but their defensive coordinator just mangled it. And like, well, also like, and when we were watching the Super Bowl with them, and I was like, the 49ers only lost that game because Greenlaw went down with that Achilles injury. Like, I don't think that could be any more obvious. Like, especially like one of the things that the NFL has done great in the last couple of years has been like the sideline like cams and conversations. But the ones that they showed of like right after Greenlaw got injured and like Pat Mahomes instantly went to his offensive coordinator and was like 57's down. And like they instantly, if you look at like how they attacked where he played the field and played like his backup, I mean, it's like those little things in the game, but the Chiefs dominated offensively by attacking his backup's position, and that's those little things in the game that make all the difference. So, I mean, one guy can go down and actually cost you a Super Bowl.
Yes, it's
sad for some teams, but I don't think we have any 49ers fans, so
it's all right.
Fans, so.
Yeah, so we're all right then talking about it, but it's all the stuff, and this is all the stuff that has to be going into your mind of, all right, which players am I keeping, which ones am I going to draft, when, schedule, as you mentioned. I can't. It was probably before we started, or maybe it was during. I can't remember. But the scheduling, like, depended upon like wide receivers. It probably was a little bit of both. You mentioned it.
Yeah. Yep. No, it's more so to me like the wide receivers, because you got to know like, all right, like are they going to go up against like when Godwin goes up against Marshawn Lattimore, like that's a matchup that tends not to play out well for Godwin, because like those are the games where Lattimore decides to show up, depending on if he's stuck to Evans or for Godwin. But like, or like the defensive scheme that some coaches are running, it's if it's man on coverage, or like even against like if, for example, like if Godwin's going up against the Broncos, like against Patrick Surtain, and like the Broncos that have always last season they had a lot of up and downs in their secondary, but
Mhm.
you know, Patrick Surtain's always going to be that guy. Eagles were the same way. I mean, the defensive coordination on the Eagles side was, I think, worse than the 49ers.
Yeah, I would
I
say, yeah.
it was disgustingly awful. Towards the end of the season, I wanted to throw up after watching each game. But I mean, we should have some new defensive coordination now. That should be a much better this year. So we have a lot of talent on that secondary too, and we sustained some pretty bad injuries on that side of the ball. So I mean, yeah, just figuring out what secondaries that team or some wide receivers are going up against. What pairings you can put them on. I swear, like I never even look at bye weeks until I'm already like 3/4 of the way through a draft, and then I look and it's like 6, 6, 6, 6, 9, 9, 9, 9, 9, 9. They're all
Sometimes you have. Sometimes you have to. Sometimes over planning. That's one thing. I wish I didn't take into account bye weeks as much as I tried to do in most drafts.
that
I wouldn't go as far as say
I go back
regret, but
and forth.
yeah,
I go back
but
and
it's
forth
easy.
where it's like
Yeah,
if you're I'll never not draft a guy that I want because his bye week lines up with somebody who has the same position.
yeah.
That I think I kind of just put that in my mindset where it's like, no, if I want a guy,
I'm taking
like
him regardless.
I'm taking him regardless, and we'll plug and play that week. But no, I definitely like ran into some situations this past year where I tried to do that in some leagues and forgot. um or like the amount of spots you could have on your roster actually count. And I was like, shit.
Yeah. Yes.
Uh,
Somebody
yeah.
did that, I think last year, the year before, or the draft. Like they had like 7 wide receivers. Or so I don't. It was something ridiculous. Somebody did that.
I remember at Deep Creek Lake, you had four four running backs in in your keepers.
Yeah, it was ridiculous. I had so many. Yeah, I overvalued the running back position.
I mean, I think 2 of those guys were Aaron Jones and Chubb. So I mean, the best boys are still there.
Yeah, the best one. They
And
still live through. Yes.
yeah, so I
Yeah.
mean, I'm not gonna. I will disagree with you in saying overvaluing the RB position because it's
It's important.
it's starting to become almost like where we talked about the tight ends where it's like you're you have really like 10 running backs who are going to carry you consistently
Yep.
game after game after game, but once you fall off, like the
It's
drop is hard.
yeah.
And um I feel like it's really hard when you have teams like the Eagles who do a running back rotation despite the fact like I mean who knew Swift was going to blow up for the Eagles last year.
Yeah.
um
That's some
and then
great
they
points,
still like stopped using him.
which I don't understand. But that's a whole. Nobody really understands.
Nobody understands what happened to the Eagles
No,
at the end of the season last year.
no. That's. I'm looking forward to this year. Like now that I'm not managing a roster, like things like that, like the Eagles collapse, or I don't know, anything off the wall. Like that's the stuff I can really dive deep into and like put together
I
a
mean,
or I'm so ready for that kind of stuff.
well, it's like one of the things like I'll be excited for is in week 3 when the Chiefs have lost their first 3 games and everybody starts hitting like a panic button like on Chiefs guys and it's like no wait for it
Yeah.
and then because I mean even yeah I mean the they'll just do what they just did. They'll just,
they'll find a way.
yeah. I
No,
mean,
no doubt.
and there, there's definitely going to be some like wide receiver or running back that just carries Patrick Mahomes through outside of Kelsey.
Somebody will.
Mhm.
Yeah, as long as
Also, they talked a lot like towards the postseason of like their defense being like outstanding, and they were. I mean,
yeah,
like
yeah,
the Kansas City defense played phenomenally. That is one thing like we were talking about like the 49ers defense being the better one, but it's like fantasy defenses is I feel like one of the most like under talked about things
hmm
where like I would love to see some pops deep dives on what defenses are landing fantasy wise.
okay,
Because uh like one of the things I noticed last year, very silent, but Colts defense racked up a
yes,
lot of
yes,
points last
yes, they
season.
did. I used them a couple times. Yeah,
I I ended up like starting them in most leagues just consistently in like the
yeah,
last 6 weeks, and like uh, minimum like 5 points per time. And it's like there are not a lot of big names there, but
yeah.
just consistent good play. Um, just rotation of guys getting sacks and rotation of guys getting turnovers.
I think
Um,
some ideas how I can put something to get analysis together for that.
hmm,
I'm
okay.
I'm getting excited over here.
Oh
I
yeah,
I can't wait. I think there's a couple ways I can do it. I can make that happen. That's not a problem.
yeah. I'm just, I already know you got tons of things up your sleeve
Oh yes, and
coming for us content wise. So I'm more than excited on
yes,
that front. Oh
absolutely. I'm happy to hear someone. Someone
no,
needs your presence.
no, Makari's just cuddling in the corner. She's a little cold. It's about 60 degrees in the apartment right now.
Oh shit! Damn, that's quite
So,
cold.
well, yesterday it was like 67 degrees outside, and the sun hits the apartment and it makes it almost 70 degrees in here. So we had to
Yeah,
kick on the AC, and then I forgot that the AC was on today, and it got down to about 25 degrees, and we had a blizzard. So it's
yes.
about 60 degrees, and I shut the heat off because my neighbor's apartment will heat mine pretty well. So,
There you go. Hey,
yep. So she's
can't.
just a little chilly right now.
Oh, well,
That's
I
why
hope
I
she
have the heavy Carhartt sweatshirt on and in
hope she
my own
warms up.
apartment. Oh, she'll be all right.
Hope you warm up too.
So she'll be more than excited when draft time comes.
Yes, that's what I like to hear. I'm trying to think of a. I was thinking of like I kind of, I mean, there's some things I'll probably do more regularly than others, like kind of whether it's weekly or bi-weekly. I'm not sure which, but like there's like some stuff based on headlines and storylines, whether it's in the league and or in the press or things that happen like in games. I, I think I want to let. That's one thing I couldn't really do before as things would come up that I really wanted to take deep dive analysis of because
Mhm.
I couldn't all this other stuff. And that's what I'm looking forward to, where I'm going to let that dictate and let my gut follow my gut and heart and be like, all right, what makes most sense for this article this week or this video, and let that kind of drive it, as well as input from the fam as well.
Yeah, no, for sure. I know I had an issue, fantasy specific issue, um, in one of my leagues last year with, so like Goddard, broken
Mhm.
forearm, listed as doubtful each week. Couldn't put him on IR because he's listed as doubtful.
Yes,
But like it would be on a roster spot.
that's a letter. That's a letter to act right there. ESPN. Let me get their shit in order. Or the team. I'm not sure. I feel like it's equally shared actually.
Yeah, like the injury report stuff is starting to get very hockey-esque in the NFL, where they're just not like some teams are fully reporting, some aren't, or playing some shadiness.
Yeah,
Um,
we'll take care of that. Put together a nice little email. Oh, I think about it. Like I was thinking about this too. Like imagine me once I figure out the screen share and how it's all going to work. Like imagine me like typing up an email, like all this crazy.
like live on.
Yes. Yes. I'm overly excited. It's actually kind of sickening how exciting I am for things like this.
No,
Or like I can't
awesome.
wait. Or, yes, dissecting, like I don't know how I would do this if I have the capability or if I need some special software that's feasible, but like breaking down a replay or something like little things like that, replays of things to help make a point. I don't know. I'm willing to open it up if I can do it, and it's
Oh yeah, like there's some
possible.
tabs even on my end that I don't even know. Like there's apps you can hook up to this thing. Like there's something on the bottom called whiteboards. I don't know if that's like notes that you can put on the side.
Yeah.
Like I use Teams for work, so
Yes,
I'm not very familiar with Zoom. But both of these apps are just coming out with like a bunch of like little widgets and things like that, where it's like you might need to take a course, Pops.
I really might need to get like trained in all this stuff, and that way it'll be easier for me to remember. But I was disappointed with one thing in this app so far.
Oh,
there's no basement button. Just like send the player to the basement, be like, boom, you're gone, you're out of here. But I don't know, maybe the next edition.
Yeah. Yeah. So that is something that I will not be able to do as well. Is be able to send players to the basement. I'm I'm a holdout, so I'll need some consistent guidance.
No problem. Well, if you need anybody sent on your behalf, I'll be glad to send them. I have no shame about that. That's for sure.
Yeah. As of right now, for me, it's just MetLife Stadium.
Understandable. I think they should. Yeah, they're probably almost everybody's basement. That stadium.
Yeah. That's one we need a letter for. That should be
the email.
MetLife management.
Yeah. That would.
Well, aren't they slated for the MLS Cup or not?
Yeah,
the
I heard
MLS,
that.
the World Cup.
Yeah,
so like they have to be getting grass.
That's what I heard. Yeah, they're going to get grass to overcome. But like, how pathetic is that?
Like it takes a completely. Yes. Yeah. No, that's.
It just doesn't sound right.
Like,
ridiculous.
Yeah, no, well, didn't the Players League actually put out like a bulletin at the beginning of last year, like with stadiums that had like that, like special mesh turf that needs to be like basically just banned?
Yes.
And I never saw like any response back from the NFL.
Nope, you want and you won't hear one until they make it mandatory.
Yeah, no, it'll be right after the World Cup. Then the NFL is going to be like, and by the way, we're going to keep the grass in all these stadiums that was provided.
Yeah, they'll eventually do it, but it's going to take some time, I think.
Mm-hmm. As long as the Kansas City groundskeepers aren't keeping the grass, I'm fine with it.
Yeah.
How the Eagles lost their Super Bowl.
Yes. Yeah, there's a lot of more and more you hear about that, or just things like this in general, the more it makes you scratch your head where you're like, what are we doing here? These teams have all this money and they can't seem to figure it out.
I mean, very quick to raise the cap, but not.
But inflation's at a normal level, so everything's fine. Everything's fine.
We're all fine.
Yeah, we're all fine. It's all fine. I was what was the last thing we were gonna go? It was the like things that I've learned or questions you had for me. Or we went over a little bit of that, but like things to like passing on the torch. We were gonna do something like that.
Yeah. Some passing on the torch. The big ones I had were the rounds in which the kicker and 8 and 10.
Yes.
So I do know those. That'll be an important one. Got to keep that legacy. I'm actually scared that we talked about it because I'm afraid somebody's going to try to cut me.
Well, I would plan on that.
Oh, oh, hold on. We got a visitor. Here's Mac.
Hello. How are you, pup?
She just wanted to
Yeah,
feel
she wanted to
involved,
join it on the phone. Yeah.
join the pod.
Oh,
So
nothing wrong
yeah,
with that.
no, yeah, I want to know what lessons you have for me. Obviously, like I don't expect this to be our even close to last conversation.
Not at all.
I'm probably going to be, especially like where we said, like where I'm real novice when it comes to like the off season trades and trading draft picks. You're you're not completely out of the management role yet.
Yeah, that's
But
fair. It's fair.
but uh like uh like at work I always say like I never come into a question without a couple potential solutions or ideas in mind.
Best advice. Yes.
So that's how I'll approach them with you. I'll be like, all right, I'm looking at these 5 different things. What would
Yes.
Pops do?
Yes. What would Pops do? That's right.
Yeah.
I,
Maybe that's a segment that you can just keep rolling.
what would Pops do?
What would Pops do?
I like it. This is the kind of stuff I like hearing because then it gets me thinking in a different way than otherwise I would have. And some of them I'm
Yeah.
able to do and implement. And obviously I can't do everything. That's not realistic. But
Mhm.
it's just it kind of helps craft it gives me the other ideas and then where I can implement them into what I do, what naturally comes best to me, what fits the most, and then everybody gets better content. And
Oh yeah.
well, that's really what matters. And spending time with one another. I know it sounds cliche what you mentioned before. Like
Mhm.
that's really about staying in touch. Like that's the most important thing with all of this stuff. I mean, yeah, it's fantasy football and we want to, it's competitive for us and we want to do the best we can and we love sports as well, just like we love the people in this league, but it's really about staying in touch with our boys.
Yeah.
However,
100%.
however you do it. And that's the beauty of all this is that even though I'm not a league owner anymore, like it still brings us together because we love sports, we love the people we're associated with, and we love dogs, obviously.
Yeah.
It's just like, but it brings you together and like, so I guess whatever like suggestions I have like for content or whether I can or can't, I'll do my best. But like regardless of which, like it still keeps us engaged and it keeps us in touch, and that's the best. That's the best thing. That's all we can ever ask for, and we're really
Yep.
lucky to have this group of friends. Oh, she's loving it.
Oh yeah, no, she goes back and forth with where the voice is coming from out of the phone.
Yes,
It's excited and then freaked out. All right, you're getting down.
she had enough. I guess as far as like lessons for passing off the torch, definitely obviously I'm always available for any management advice. I mean, as far as like success, I didn't have much success, but I can help you navigate at least if you need just opinion how to navigate to get you started more than can definitely help you with. And if you're ever in the losers bracket, I'm your guy for coming for advice. How to not be the ultimate loser. Fight your way out of that losers bracket.
Yeah, I'll need that because I have been in positions where I've lost the losers bracket and I can't go through that again. Last time for my punishment, I had to wear a Michigan shirt for the entire football season, and I refused to do that again.
Yes.
So burn that shirt after that season.
I hope you get the Misfits motivated.
Yeah.
Whoever's on the roster at that time.
Just
not a problem. But
get them hyped up.
Definitely.
Make them the basement.
yeah, exactly. That's it. Whatever it takes.
Yeah.
That's usually what I do. I make some aggressive promises.
Yeah, I like that.
Yes, and
Make aggressive promises.
it usually gets them to play better around that time of the year.
Mm, it's fair.
Definitely, I would say the best thing that I could like. Obviously, if you have a chance at a championship, go get whoever you can get, but don't. I've done this before where even I was able to get my way through it and pull a roster together enough and have some luck on my side to avoid being the ultimate loser. But don't blow up your whole team at the same time. That's just one suggestion I make. That way you can
Hmm.
compete, and then that way you're still in that competitive spirit where you're putting the best product you can. Like obviously, I
Hmm.
understand playing for next year and all this stuff, but you have to bet. I feel I just that being able to balance that is probably the best thing that I could say to do. And remember that it sounds cliche again, but it's all for staying in touch and having fun with the fellas and enjoying enjoying what you're doing. I mean, because you're trying to draft this team and manage it. Don't lose sight of that. Like,
Yeah.
don't treat it as a
Oh
chore
no.
or a job. Like, it's fun. And that's how it should be treated.
Yep. Speaking of blowing up rosters and things like that,
Mm-hmm.
who's Pop's favorite folks to trade with? Because there's always a couple in the
Oh,
league that are very willing to trade real quick, and others
oh,
that are very stubborn.
yes. My
Mr.
favorite is Mr. Chris.
Chris? Okay.
Yeah, he's very fair. Usually it's limited text that it takes, and obviously I think
Quick to
that's
get a
another thing
deal
I would
done.
say. What's that? Say it again.
I said quick to get a deal done.
Yes, and even if it's not like him and I, or like he's just not like we're on. I think everybody's honest with everybody, but
Hmm.
there's just some people where it flows better. There's just like that trade chemistry. I
Yeah.
really, I'm a believer. There is trade chemistry. Chris and I always had it. Ron's great to trade with too. He would be like my neck, like right, like 1A 1B. I mean, because I think I've done more deals with Chris, but Ron and I have a great mutual understanding too of like, all right, like, and usually it's been probably because his teams are usually fighting for the playoffs or if not winning the championship. In mine, I'm looking at bigger pieces for next year or give me a band-aid to get me through the losers bracket. So like we know that
Hmm.
going in, we make it fair. We have real rapport with each other, and that's the thing. I would say build is there's going to be trade chemistry you have to develop, even though you're friends with all the boys. There's still
Yeah.
you're gonna learn different things that are going to help each of you get the like. Because I mean, I don't believe in trying to be like, all right, I'm going to win this trade. Like I think sometimes it's overblown. Where really it's about making, to my opinion, making the best or the most fair equal for both sides. So that way you can retain the relationship for the long term.
Yeah. And this is all through you guys also use ESPN, right?
Yeah, yeah. It's all
Okay.
yes. Yeah.
Um what are your feelings on the trade analyzer tool that they rolled out last year?
Mm,
I mean, there I see I personally took like some too much reliance in that in certain
yeah.
aspects because I was like, all right, like maybe this trade feels a little unfair because I picked like two stack players, so I throw like some random guy off the bench. But
If
like,
I
and,
yeah.
and that's the thing sometimes where you're talking about like winning trades, like how much is that a factor in some people's decisions now?
Oh, I
Because
know
I
it's
mean
one.
that's a pretty complex tool that IBM gave the ESPN.
Yes. It's I I think it can be useful, but I also think it sometimes it's too much information because like I'm sure you can put in parameters that make it so all things created
Helpful to
equal,
yeah.
as they say, to make it helpful to make a decision. But I don't know if it quite can analyze every single situation or scenario that you can come across. And at some point, you have to just take a chance on something if you feel it. And at some point, where does that intuition or that gut feeling and or you're following your heart, all that, besides the analysis you can do, like where does that come into play? And that's hard to measure.
Yeah. And I mean like the other thing, like there's not factors. I mean, obviously like with this league, I mean, oh you've been in here for 10 years now. I mean, it doesn't factor in, how much like for example, if somebody was to trade Stroud versus Jalen Hurts, I mean, to trade those two would probably show up equal there, but does Stroud actually probably have more value in this league because he is, only 1 year in, and Hurts has gotten, what is this? This will be his fourth, fifth
Fourth
year.
year, yeah, fourth or fifth, yeah. So
So I mean, like those are factors of consideration that tool's definitely not factoring in, and like because those tools are built out for your standard operating, that like they only look at like whether your league's really a PPO or
or PPR,
PPO.
I know what you mean.
Yeah.
PPR or yeah, I
What am I mixing up PPR
health
and
insurance,
PTO?
PTO, PPO, all that real life stuff.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I feel the same way where it doesn't take those things into account, especially potential, and
Mhm.
that's where it can hurt you. And then if you're like, all right, if you're so like, okay, I didn't win this trade, or I'm not feeling like I'm getting the upper hand. Well, that then could hurt you if you don't build that rapport with somebody. Like, say a quarterback goes down at a really inopportune time, and there's somebody you could pick up the phone, whether it's text or call, and be like, all right, what can we do here? Can you help me out? You're
Yep.
more willing to develop that. If you have a better rapport with them, you're able to get something where they're going to want to help you out.
Oh, 100%. That is always a huge one.
And there's
So
no,
I feel like that, I know, like I've kind of built that rapport with some folks in other leagues where,
Mhm.
you know, um, I've gotten those texts and phone calls like, hey, you got a starter on your roster and my guys are down, like help me out.
Hey,
And
can you do something
I've
to
been
make it
there.
still fair? But
Yep. Yeah. And yeah, you're not gonna take it. I'm a good person, so I don't take advantage.
correct.
That sounded
Yeah.
condescending the way I said it, but
No,
but yeah, like you're not gonna like, oh man, you're in a tough spot. I'm not gonna like you're clearly like willing to give like a little bit more because you still are in a hunt for playoffs and things like that. Like, okay, we're both in the hunt. What can help benefit me of your team that's not going to completely destroy you in the hunt for the playoffs? So while at the
right.
same time, I apologize for the squeaks in the background. That would be Makari
No,
trying to play.
no worries. No worries. It's she's liking the content.
Yeah, no, she's very much enjoying it.
That's good.
So,
As I'm sure others will too.
oh yeah.
I
So,
um I can't think of trying to think of anything else, but the trades, definitely that's big. Oh, your fob. Don't be afraid to trade and or accumulate your fob, because sometimes they can
ooh,
get you some surprises down the road, and you can use it for later trades down the road when the funds become more scarce later in the year.
ooh, that's another thing that I have not taken into account before. So I'm used to just a standard budget, and I
Yeah.
forgot that you guys do that.
Yep.
So yeah, that's one thing I always forget about too. Just that
Yeah.
fob money.
And ESPN doesn't
So.
let you accumulate interest, so they haven't figured that out yet. Maybe in future years.
Yeah.
Now that the bank's starting to pay out a little more interest, maybe they can make that happen.
Yeah, put a little savings in.
Yeah, make it worthwhile. Create an incentive
Mhm.
instead of just spending it.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, how are you typically with yours? Do you spend heavy in the beginning, or
You
you wait,
usually
you hold out?
I usually hold out.
It,
I hold out at
I
least till the middle, but I did accumulate a shitload of it this year,
Oh, okay.
and I had more than what I started with. At the end of the season, I think with around 40 or so, but at one
Mhm.
point I had it like I think it was you start with 100. I had it like around 150 or so. Yes, but it helped me pick up some pieces that I was able to makeshift my roster because I had to overcome injuries. It I took instead of taking some players I didn't like, I was like, how about Fob? And it worked out for me. But
Yeah,
granted, I know I'm not competing for championships, but it did help me at least. I had some unlucky
avoid
stints,
punishment.
but hey, but it did help, but it did, but it also allowed me to not gut my team at the same time, which was the
Yeah,
most important to keep me competitive enough for this year to at least warrant playing for something, even though it wasn't for playoffs. But I still gave it my best shot, every week to make it happen. But I didn't give up any major pieces that I was like, okay, my team's done for the future. So
yeah,
I accomplished both things. Was able to balance it by using the fob, like
yeah.
creatively. I thought I did a good job at that.
I agree. I mean, there's definitely some keepers on the team.
Yes,
So,
absolutely. Now you have some players to pick from, and thankfully it was because of the
mhm,
fob. Because otherwise, once my running backs went down, I thought about like gutting the team and starting over, but then I really didn't get a deal that made sense to me. And then I was like, all right, like I'm probably not going to have a run at the playoffs this year. I was like, but I can
mhm,
manufacture the roster, and fob was one way for me to do that and to stay as competitive as I could given the circumstances, but not give up
yep,
playing for next year. And I at that time I was still envisioning of being of the owner, but like regardless of which, I set myself up and always gave it my best to do that. And I feel that that's using things such as fob or just thinking outside the box, but being
mhm.
yourself more importantly. But don't
I like where you said being competitive.
yes,
Like staying competitive is the most important thing. And um, I mean, it's one of the reasons why I believe you chose me because I'll keep that team competitive. So
yes you
um,
will.
yeah, I'm I'm not one to gut, and I like to build around folks.
Yes,
So we'll
that,
we'll whip them into shape, get
yes.
them some line.
Do whatever you got to do. Aggressive promises.
Yeah, aggressive promises.
Yes.
That that is that is a new term that I think I'm just gonna take into my everyday life.
Aggressive promises. You're more than
Yeah.
welcome to it.
I'm just gonna start throwing that one around at work.
Aggressive
Like,
promise. Yeah.
start making some aggressive promises here.
That's too good, but it it definitely helps.
Yeah. No,
And
I like I said, um, I'm giddy. I'm
that's the best part is like seeing like as happy as this is making me because it's taking the weight of the world off my shoulders and just being like now I'm able to put in the words and I'm like, all right, this is the right time. Like seeing you how happy you are to take this on and that you're embracing this role and you're like we're both helping we're embracing each other taking on these new roles and it's just
yep.
it's the energy is infectious and I think it will continue to be infectious and it's great that we're going to be supporting each other and I hope you certainly hope you get more wins than I was able to get out of the roster but I'm always here for anything trying to learn something about somebody else to enough to get you on the ground, hit the ground running in this transition period. No, not a problem.
I mean, despite the losses I've taken in arm wrestling, I always have a win in pie eating. So I'm great at
Yes,
great at breaking even for a season.
yes, absolutely. I
Mhm.
man, I can't wait. It'll be different. Don't get me wrong. It's gonna be different, but I truly feel this is the best thing for me, the league, everybody, and it's all going to work out. And we're going to be able to do interviews like this or whatever. It's just it opens up a
Yeah.
lot more doors than that weren't open for me before, and I can feel more fulfilled about doing it and do it to the best of my ability.
Mhm. I actually just had like a work thing recent or a work district meeting, and um, what the one of the main focuses was just growing opportunities. And so the more the more that you bring people in, the more opportunities grow, and how things change doesn't mean it's bad, just more opportunities for everybody. So
Yes,
um, I'm I'm a very open and fun trade partner for the for the rest of the folks tuning in.
yes,
So we'll see who I can build that trade capital with, and uh you know, and if anybody takes Justin Tucker before round 8, uh I will make an aggressive promise right now
yeah.
that
They'll be dealt with.
that that they will be dealt with.
Yes, with all due respect.
Yeah, of course, of course, of course.
Yeah, we're gentlemen here at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Oh, and I've done this fun thing with I think it was Mr. Chris before. That we mentioned somebody at the very end of the segment, which we're here now. Where we
Mhm.
say a name and they have to text me the name to as verification for watching the whole video for these long videos.
Oh, okay.
And I like to see who texts me the name of the player. So the name of the player I'm going to use for sake of getting this thing started. We used this player last time. I'm going to use him again.
Okay.
Mr. Rivers.
Ooh.
So for any of those that this is I know it's second time again. It won't be the same player again after this, but please text me or Mr. Ford here, Mr. Rivers, to let us know that you watched the duration of the video.
It will be appreciated.
Yeah.
This is my first time being brought on and first time in the league, so I'm more than excited.
Yes, absolutely. Boys are going to be excited to have you, and let's plan on doing a check-in at some point before the next draft.
Yeah. Oh
As
no,
we
for
get
sure.
closer.
Oh yeah.
We'll check.
No, I mean, even when I think a good time would be right before the keepers have to get locked in would be great for me. Kind of, we talked about how I'm feeling right now on some of the things. Now that I know who some of my baseline are, I can start getting the research machine going.
Yes,
Tic-tac moving.
absolutely. And we'll and last thing we'll leave this off with. Joe and I were talking about. We have to speak with Kamish, but we're not sure how. That way, I can see like in real time everything going on with the league. That way, it makes it a little bit easier to develop content around, and that way I'm still in touch with like all the transactions and seeing the standings, all that stuff. I don't know if it's possible for me to still be like a what were you saying? How did you put it best?
But
Like
so I know I've seen like before. I'm in. So one of the fantasy leagues I'm in, like you can add, like you can do co-ownership
Mhm.
of a team. So I could probably just get added on um to the team, and I would have full rights of management to the team, but you would still have access to the league via your email. And not that you would, but
Yeah,
could make any changes as you saw
no,
fit. And
never. I would never.
but yeah,
Never.
no, we're two men with integrity, so we would not be
Absolutely.
doing that. But I know that's something that I've seen in other leagues due to NCAA regulations that they had to do it that way.
Yes.
Because that could be considered a form of an
Tampering
NCAA
or
violation. No, like, so yeah, no, in another league, like there was somebody who was a collegiate athlete and they
uh,
couldn't actually be like an owner of a fantasy football team, even though they played a completely different sport. It was still like some sort of like gambling tamperation type thing. So they could just be
eh,
involved. I mean, only, only the NCAA.
yeah. We want to be compliant with all NCAA regulations, so we take that matters very seriously here on the channel.
Yeah. So,
But in all
I mean,
seriousness,
and we're
yeah,
athletes at heart. So,
yes. Hopefully, we're able to do something like that, or if there's a way I could still be at it, like I don't know. That way, just whatever way it makes most sense and that's possible, it would be great if I'm able to do that.
mhm,
That's the best way I think. That way, I can see in real time what's going on, and then it'll help me with the content. And
yep.
Joe's willing to do that, which is very nice of him to do it. And definitely, like you said, we're two men with integrity. There'll be no issues there. It's just for
Mhm,
the purpose of the content. That's all.
yep. So, yeah, we'll just have to talk it out with Kamish.
Yes, we'll approach him definitely before keeper's lock about that.
Yeah.
Any
So,
any final words?
um, I'll end it the way I started it off with. I couldn't feel more privileged or honored to hold this role, and I'm excited for the future.
Yes.
So,
Likewise, we're happy to have you, and you've earned it. You deserve it, and I can't wait to we're checking back in before the when the keepers are locking, and to see, how much you're enjoying it. And I can't wait to see where this content grows with this channel.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm so excited as well.
And Max, super excited if you can't hear her squeaking in the background.
She's so yes. I got
She's
my
pumped
first
up and
fit.
she can't wait to see the boys too. So,
I can't wait.
so,
It's been a pleasure.
oh, pleasure's all mine, sir.
So, as always, don't do anything I wouldn't do. And this goes for anybody. Please don't do anything I wouldn't do. Stop the video. I stopped the video, so I guess I got to end it.
Oh, sounds good.
Why did it stop recording? Oh, it's still recording. See, I'm still learning.
Still recording.
Oh,
How does this
shit.
work? I was
Oh, then I have to go and
Can I